Hi, how are you? It's me, my face. I'm back.
Yeah, you don't just have to look at me. Like, the shenanigans are here. Hello, welcome. Welcome to the show.
Welcome back
And
to Surviving Out of Spite, where once again we are surviving purely out of freaking spite, guys. That is all
extra
that's left.
spitefully. Extra
Extra
spitefully.
spitefully. A lot of zest, there's spice.
We have no notes, just shenanigans for today.
This was all inspired by literally an Instagram post.
Yes, because
And my
I had
life
nothing
sucking.
and I had nothing better to do last night than to be on scrolling through stories on Instagram because we
I,
saw what was it? Chronic Love Club, right? Who posted it? Our friends over
yeah,
at Chronic Love Club. We love them. You reshared their story, and I was like, "Hey, want to talk about this tomorrow?" And
I
here we
think it
are.
helped that the thing that I shared right before was like a really cute little frog with like fire everywhere. It literally said, "This too shall pass." What the hell? Well, it said something worse than that, but I have to keep it somewhat PG.
It's
Like, literally, I
okay.
sent that out and I was like, I think this will tell everyone how I'm feeling right about now. Like, I
Hmm.
really feel like this is an accurate representation. And then I just so happened to see the medical trauma post, and I was like, well, that works. That's perfect.
That's accurate.
Yeah.
So we decided to trauma bond on the internet. It's okay. I've already cried on the internet, so I mean, why not? Like, I've shared about my poop stories. I have cried on the internet, so here we are trauma bonding because what else is there to do?
I mean, there honestly really isn't. And I mean, I think the wildest thing about all of this is the timing, right?
Hmm.
Because, I mean, you guys know I have multiple different rare conditions that I deal with. It's not just gastroparesis for me. And this time my brain decided to shit the bed. So here we are.
With two half functioning brains, hopefully, to have one semi conscious conversation.
We do our best. I just took meds, so we'll see how this goes. It's a party tonight, guys. It's a
Yeah,
party, okay?
unhinged and a little crazy. But you know what? I think that's what we're here for because that's just life, right?
It
Sometimes
is.
it gets a
And
little unhinged and a little crazy, and we have to kind of find some way to deal with it. And talking about trauma and medical trauma, and when you're a chronic illness patient and you're constantly in the medical system and having to like re-traumatize yourself every single time you need to go to the hospital or deal with something, or some weird sound like triggers some weird reaction, and it's just like you have to deal with that over and over and over and over and over again. So it's like if you can't find a little fun and at least some dark humor, like you're not gonna make it through. It's just
literally, I honestly didn't realize how much I mentally blocked out as far as medical PTSD, being at Johns Hopkins, doing all the surgeries, all that stuff I did. Like, I mean, we're talking quite a few years ago now that
yeah.
I just wasn't really processing. I feel like I blanked out so many small details that really ended up throwing me for a loop this time around. I think the moment I started to realize, ooh, like I'm sort of back in a bad position, was when they had me go for my CSF flow study. So it's basically like where they check my shunt out. They make sure using radio trace dye, they actually can scan and see how the fluid is moving through the device.
Was this when they put the
And
needle in your head?
yeah, yeah, that's
Okay.
exactly it. Yep. So that's how they inject. So they do that when they do both the shunt taps to check the pressure and also when they're injecting any kind of dye to, try and check the overall flow of the device. But
Hmm.
it's down in the creepiest section of Johns Hopkins, and it's literally in like the freaking basement, okay? And I hadn't been there in years. And usually, if you're in the basement of Johns Hopkins, it's not good. That's where the OR is, that's where IR is, that's where
Hmm.
all of like the fun tests happen, like the stuff
Yeah.
you
The
don't want to
invasive
do.
stuff. Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah, and so as soon as I got down there, like, I already had that, like, bad, like, ooh, the air changes and it just feels different. The thing that threw me was as I was walking to the place where I was getting my test done, all of a sudden I turn the corner and I see a patient who's clearly a neuro patient, head wrapped the whole 9 yards, laying in a bed, and I'm like, oh, and like I actually stopped dead in my tracks. I couldn't move.
Yeah.
And my mom, she stopped too. We both at the same time, because like we've both been through the same stuff. She was with me like through everything. And I had to like really kind of chill out for a second because it just brought me back to all the times I had been there and all the times that
Yeah.
was me. And the fact that I had that gut feeling that that was going to be me again soon, which ironic. Like here we are. Literally in 18 days, I'm going to be doing the same thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
It's
it threw me for a loop, and I even stuff as simple as when I go from the parking lot, there's this sky bridge into the hospital and you always have to cross that bridge to go in. And they have this weird frosted glass pattern that almost looks like confetti. And every time I see it, it freaks me out. I don't know why. I think it's like that I'm going over this bridge, do I get to come back? And like that's what freaks
yeah.
me out.
It's like a
But
weird
like
trigger. Yeah.
yeah, like those are the kind of triggers that I get, and that's the stuff that I really didn't realize was the stuff that would bother me. It was like all of the little things. It's not, getting the test itself. It's not the pain I feel when I get the tests. It's really the overall experience and the
Hmm.
environment that throws me.
Yeah. It's funny that you mentioned that because I remember not this, was it this last time? One of the times recently in the last couple of years that I was septic, and I remember for me, the real heavy where I actually was like, I might not come out of this was the third time I was septic. So the last, the times that come after that are the ones that triggered a lot of those things. And I remember was in one of the last two times, and I'm like talking to my therapist about how my anxiety had increased and all these things just started happening. I was feeling worse, and she's like, you realize what this is, right? As I'm telling her how I'm feeling, all this stuff, she's like, it's medical PTSD. And I'm sitting there like, got it. Like, as a person who's been through it and feeling it, and she's not like, why aren't you realizing it? But it's kind of like after that survival mode is starting to wear off. You've made it through this thing. It was scary before. It was really scary in the middle of it. And then you've kind of come out of it. You're still in fight or flight mode. Like your adrenaline is still kind of pumping, right? And as everything starts to wear off and normalcy starts to creep back in, which is a good thing, but it's like your body doesn't know what to do with that now because it's not fighting or running from anything anymore. It's no longer in that hyperactive state. That when you start to calm down, at least for me, that was when the anxiety and that stressor and the nightmares and all of those things start to creep back in.
Yes.
And because I've been septic twice since Adam and I got married, and
Mm.
the first time, and going through all of that and dealing with that infection for months, and just things weren't really being taken as seriously as they should have, and things were missed that shouldn't have been missed, and we're going through, like, we're re-traumatized over and over and over and over again, and then when you're put in a hospital room and you're looking around like, this room looks familiar, like, where am I? And then you
Mm-hmm.
have to go back in, like you're talking about the place in Johns Hopkins. Like for me, it's VIR in the hospital, and now I love the surgeon that I've had down there. Like at this point, she knows me very, very well, right?
Yeah.
So I feel a sense of relief when she comes in the room or the team comes in the room and they're like, we've got you. And I
Yeah.
recognize those voices. So when my eyes are closed, I feel that sense of like safety, but at the
Yeah.
same time, you don't, because you're like, am I gonna wake up here? Like, is this gonna be really bad? And all these things start coming back, and you don't even realize that, like, what you're dealing with is trauma. Like, you're not realizing all of those things because we get traumatized so freaking often, and you're going through all these things so often that, like, you almost don't even realize what you're dealing with until, like, in my case, my therapist was like, you dum-dum. Obviously, she was nicer about it, but, like, you dum-dum, like, don't you realize what you're dealing with here? I'm like,
Exactly.
oh, got it. Like, my bad. Like, you don't
There
even
was
realize
like
it.
there was a moment when it started to click a little bit for me that that might be the case, but it definitely took me like a long time to like come to terms with it. I
Yeah,
think because I viewed my other traumas as like worse in a way.
makes sense.
You know what I mean? And like when I looked at other things I had gone through in other categories, I was like, it even took me sometimes a long time to come to terms with the fact that those were actual traumas. I've always been the
Yeah,
kind of person where I would always downplay something in my own head and be like, well, it's not the hyped up, super messed up thing that sounds like it came out of a book, so it must not be that bad. Or I would hear another situation where someone's been through something so much worse, and I would feel guilty for feeling
yeah,
traumatized in my situation. And like
yeah,
it really, I think I spent so much time not processing it and just cracking jokes the whole time and like laughing my whole way through it that I just really didn't take any of it in. And like
yeah,
I think I just always had that weird coping mechanism where I wanted to keep everybody happy, including myself. I didn't want to feel sad in the moment. So it's like I would always have like this really dark, morbid sense of humor. And I would always like, I'd be like cracking jokes as they're rolling me back. Like it was
yeah, yeah.
nonstop because I'm like, well, if my team's in a good mood and I'm in a good mood,
Then
maybe
everything
things
will
will
be
go better.
fine.
Yeah. And like,
It's not a bad thought, though.
yeah. And that was me at like 22. Like that was like when everything really started kicking off. I started having brain surgery all the time. I had like this weird I almost called it like this weird like rock star mentality that I had of just trying to like laugh my way through it, charisma my way through it, and just not care. And I was like,
Yeah,
like consequences be damned, I'll deal with the trauma later. Like I know I'm gonna be really messed up after all this, but I just need to survive it.
yeah.
And I think I eventually hit this really weird point where that stopped being enough. And
That
like
makes
I
sense,
couldn't
though.
lie anymore. It was like it was almost as if like I just got really tired. And it was right around the time when I started getting a lot more involved in advocacy and where I had to expend a lot more of that energy so there was less to lie to myself.
Yeah,
So like I literally couldn't do it anymore because when you're trying to put up like that positive front all the time, you can't
it's
do it for yourself
exhausting.
anymore. Yeah,
Yeah, it's exhausting.
and that's just kind of the point that I got to where I had to kind of pull myself back and I had to be like, if I'm going to be in a place where I need time to process this, I need to take some time. And like I started like pulling back from different projects and different things until like I knew if I was good.
Yeah,
And I think for a while I've started to get back into like this out of sight, out of mind. It's not happening, so I don't care about it and I wanted so badly to have because I think the past 3 years of my life were some of the best because I got to kind of pretend that I wasn't sick for a little bit. And I think I kind of fell in love with that. And I tried so hard to keep that the same because, like, getting an apartment, like moving out, doing all the things that I always wanted to do, like, I wanted so badly for that to keep going that I was willing to ignore little warning
symptoms you should
signs.
not have.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah, yeah.
gonna stop
And,
being so subtle about that now. Just, you know.
yeah, yeah, I should have, the first time my hand went completely numb and limp, I probably should have been concerned.
You know,
The
I think
first
back to
time,
conversations when you're like, "Hey, it's kind of like I'm bleeding from all my orifices. Should I go to the ER? And I'm like, why are you calling me and not 911?
Like, my eyes are
Like,
bleeding.
why? You'll send me a picture and be like, does this look normal? And I'm like, no, Levi, that is not normal. Call somebody. And you're like, I'll just wait a couple hours and see if it goes away. I'm like, it's not going away. Like, this is
It never
not.
will. Dude, my ears are scarlet. I'm laughing so hard right now. Like, this is how much you're embarrassing me.
I'm calling you out because I can and because I love you, but it's that same thing where it's like, I get it though, because I've felt very similarly. Like, even though things that we deal with are not the same, they're similar in some of those pieces, sometimes this is, it's how we all look at it, where all of our journeys are different, but we've all experienced something where you could be like, yeah, I get it. Like, again, trauma bonding, right? So it's that's
our
same
whole friendship,
thing.
literally.
It really is. It's like, wait, like, you have this too? Me too. Like, did we just become best friends? Yes, we did. So, but I've been in that space where I'm like, I feel like I was okay. Like, I got married, we moved into our house and, working in advocacy and doing all the things, even back when I was running, and I'm like, I wasn't doing it easily, but from the outside, I can understand why someone's like, oh, things are better. Oh, things have changed. Oh, there's improvement. Oh, they're not as sick anymore. Like, I understand how somebody from the outside who doesn't know, like, either one of us or anybody that's in a similar situation, like, intimately, to look at that and say, maybe they're not as sick anymore, or maybe they got better. I understand that. The thing is, you and I both know that, like, and everybody else does, that what you see or what we project to you is not always the full story. And
I lie, like, a lot.
But you know what? That's a survival technique. And at this point, I know when you're lying to me, so it's fine. And you screwed yourself because you're not getting away with it anymore now.
Yeah, no, and I have a tell too when I lie. I have so many tells. Like, I'm such a bad liar. Like, that's like the worst part. Like, you can always tell.
It is. I said shenanigans. But, it's that thing though, that in order to have a life, sometimes you have to do things differently. And for me, I think back to, and I've actually had this like kind of thought to myself recently about, I think back on the days for me when I'm like, I'm so tired. I do not want to do this. I can't do this. Like, I've had it with trying to get my work done and trying to balance everything and do all these things. I'm like, I freaking had it. I can't do this anymore. And I think back to the person that I was laying in bed, wishing for the life that I have now. And I think when I am in a space of I need to keep going and to keep that facade going is because we're doing it for her. We're doing it for that person. We're doing it for that person that we used to be, that wished for the ability to do the thing that we're doing now or have the things that we're doing now. So as our body starts to like refail us again, when we've held at a certain place for so long, it becomes so easy to lie to yourself, to lie to everybody around you, to ignore your body screaming. All your dashboard lights are going off. Everything is going crazy. Your body is screaming at you to stop, to slow down, to go somewhere. And you're just like, Band-Aid, and I'm out. Like, that's
literally
it.
The past year of my life.
I know, because I've been yelling at you to stop doing that. And you didn't listen.
And now I'm having surgery.
But, now, Levi, what did we learn?
To listen to our body. And to listen to Sam.
It's funny, I had that same conversation with my husband not that long ago with something. I'm like, and what did we learn?
I mean, like, I think the hardest thing also was I was trying so hard to protect my career, protect
Yeah.
all the advancements that I've made because I felt like I'd finally like started to get somewhere.
Yep.
And I think some of like the biggest failings that I had in life, like the biggest regrets that I had were getting into careers that my body wasn't able, to keep up with and not going about my education the right way, not picking things that genuinely would have better suited me and better prepared me and not spending the time that I wish I did on preparing myself for what that future would look like. And so when I find myself in this situation where I had to really, really scrap for what I have now because I had nothing. And like that is like
Yeah.
no college degree, like barely any certificates, like nothing. Like all I had was my personality and a dream, and that is it. And that literally is it. It was just me tugging on people's sleeves, going, I'm gonna do such a good job. Please, 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 please let me do this. I'm gonna do such a good job. And like
Mm-hmm.
that is it. So like in my mind, it's that pressure of if I mess this up, it's going to be 10 times harder to come back.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
I'm like white knuckle holding on to everything that I was scrapping for, not wanting to concede an inch, even
Yep.
though there's times when I should. And I
Yep.
had to get really uncomfortable with being really honest with myself about what those limitations looked like and when to draw a line in the sand and actually try to create boundaries for myself since my body was literally falling apart from me overworking myself.
Yeah. It's it's hard. I mean, I think even for like an able-bodied person or somebody who doesn't go through chronic illness that has something happen where they have to make a decision where they're like, can I come back to this, whatever that this is? Maybe it's a career
Mhm.
or whatever. But for somebody like us who we can work. We have careers in advocacy, but we have careers in advocacy and we can work these jobs because we work from home. So we
Mhm.
have the ability to be flexible and work around the clock of chronic illness that never is the same. So we can manipulate the flexible schedule to be able to do our job. It's like the way of having your cake and eat it too, right? And we're able to do that because of the types of jobs that we do and where we work and the people that we work for who understand chronic illness, and to say like we get it and we can communicate that, but it doesn't mean that we don't still have things that we have to do. So coming back to that and being like, well, I was at this level, but now I'm coming back and I'm starting here. Like, what does that say about me? Because we take things so personally. And I think it's partially the job that we do, because it's not just a job. Like advocacy, nonprofit work, things like that, it's never just a job. And
Yeah.
it's something that we put our heart and soul into what we do because we believe in helping patients and helping people so much and getting people what they need, that when we're not performing at whatever pedigree we told ourselves that we have to perform at, we're our own worst critic. Like everybody else is like, good job guys, and we're like, no, that really could have been a lot better. And that's on us though. But it's also, I think it's that pressure put on somebody who's got things going against you. You feel like you have to double down on that performance. Like you were saying, you're white knuckling like to get through all of this. You don't want to let go. And as much as your friend and somebody that cares about you, I'm like, stop it. Like nothing is worth your life. And I will still obviously forever stand by that and always be chirping in your ear to remind you of that. But the part of me that has done the same thing completely understands where you're coming from, where I'm like, I've done the same thing, but again, what did we learn? We learned the hard way that when you ignore the screaming, something's gonna give and eventually something's gonna fall apart. And
And
for
me,
you, it's your body.
yeah, like that's the thing, like the biggest point I want to drive home here is that I gaslit myself the entire time, telling myself that it was nothing, okay? And then all of a sudden, it's full cystic encephalomania, like literally my brain matter is liquefying and turning into cysts from damage. Like, I'm gonna just let you sit with that for a minute, because and when I thought that it was nothing, that's what it was. And it was
Yeah.
also my valves breaking, my pressure being really crazy high, and having that damage attached to it, and a history of hypoxic brain injuries that no one told me about. So, like, this was all stuff that, like, is extremely severe, is something that I should very much be at the forefront of my mind, with all of the pun intended, since that's literally where it's freaking located. But I literally dropped the ball so hard on this, thinking that, oh, it's just a headache. Oh, I'm just overdoing it and it's not that big of a deal. And then, surprise, now I
Yeah.
need surgery, and I have
Yeah.
no idea what that actually is going to look like. I have no
Yeah.
idea if this becomes, a really straightforward conservative procedure, which is what we're hoping for, or if this turns into something really messed up, or even multiple procedures, because that has happened to me before too.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, all the things that I'm feeling, all the stuff, like all the symptoms, everything that I've experienced in the past month has literally reminded me that all the same things I'm feeling right now were all the things that I felt the first time I developed the cystic encephalomania, and it was like really big.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I've been really having to grapple with that, because my body is now like constantly reminding me that something is wrong, and it's like I don't really get any respite from that. Like, even if I try to, like, because I used to like laugh at my therapist every time she's like, "You should meditate," and I was like, "That's a terrible idea." But it's something that like
Me
I
alone
got
with my
better at.
thoughts? Are you crazy?
So, like, being alone with my thoughts was not always the greatest idea in the world. But, like, I eventually learned that, meditation could look like many different things to many different people, and that
Hmm.
even me, like, enjoying the quiet of my mind and listening to music while
Yeah.
meditating still counted. I got to a point recently where I went to meditate, and I was like, damn, even this isn't working anymore. Like, I'm just so wired right now that I can't shut it off. Like, if I try to meditate, the things I meditate on are not going to be positive. They're not
Yep.
going to be helpful. And
Yep.
I'm just not in a place to do it right now. Like, I just can't. And, like, the only thing I could do was just work. That's it.
Yeah.
Because, like,
I
if I
know.
don't have a project, if I don't have something to just go, 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 like, I literally can't relax. And I've had to be a little more honest with myself about my limitations, because like I ended up like coming off of PTO and like trying to like do a couple things before surgery, just because I didn't want to like be alone in my thoughts and like have to think about everything. And then like I woke up like the morning after, and my hand was just completely like limp and numb when I woke up, and I was
Yeah.
like, oh, oops.
Yeah.
I need to slow
Yeah.
down. Oopsie
I
daisy.
think one of the worst things is you don't know when you're overdoing it until you've overdone it. And
Yup.
I am the worst for that
Oh
because
yeah.
I am the kind of person that's like, you know what? Don't be a little bitch. Just go do it. You're fine. And then, like,
We
the
have
next
that in common.
day, I'm like, oops. I didn't know that it was. No, I knew. Like, let's be real. Like, I knew. I just chose to not listen to that part of my brain that was telling me, like, Like, no, I chose not to. But, I look at that a couple different ways. Like, there's times to treat yourself with grace, and there's times to remind yourself, don't be a little bitch. I firmly
Yes.
believe that. I firmly believe that. My
Agree.
problem is I don't know which is which.
That's accurate.
That's where I get myself into trouble of like I'm doing
Yeah.
something and then I like, you're doing it and all of a sudden I'm like, maybe this wasn't my best idea. And I'm like, but I'm already here, so I might as well finish. Sorry?
I guilt myself. Like, I guilt myself a lot where I'll be like, and I think it was, you know what the funny thing was? Like, especially when you and I would work together, sometimes I would use you to guilt myself, where I'd be like, well, Sam is like just as sick as me and she's doing a million more things, so I just need to shut the hell up and like get with it.
I hope you just noted my eye roll
I did. I definitely did.
because it was a good one.
It was. It really was. But literally, like, and honestly, I think it's even easier for people in the rare disease community, like chronic illness community to do, because there's
Mm-hmm.
so many like professional advocates that work in this space that have really debilitating conditions, but we see them do all of these incredible things, and because we're not always talking about the what it takes to show up, there isn't
Yeah.
like enough of that. We
Yeah.
assume that, we're just like, oh, like they're out there doing their thing. Like why aren't I doing
Uh-huh.
that? Why can't I do the same thing?
Yeah.
And I would spend a lot of time comparing my output and my energy to other people,
Mm-hmm.
and that was not a fair thing of me to do to myself. Like
No, it
at all.
absolutely was not. And I say that because I've done the same thing where I'm like, it's the same mentality. It's like, it's, it's a healthy way of looking at things that you can make unhealthy, right? Like you can use it as a motivator of, well, if she can do it, I can do it. And then you're like, look what I did. Or
Yeah.
you can take it one step further, which most of us generally do, and I know I do it, and I know you do
Hmm.
it, where
Yeah.
we take it that step further to be like, well, if she can do it, so I'm going to do it twice. Like, but you don't even realize that it's not a conscious thought. It's
No.
not something that you're doing on purpose. But I think the other side of it is that, like, we're taught when we're young that like these are the steps that you take to grow up. You go to school, you get a degree, you get married, you get a house, you have a baby, you do all these things. Nobody ever mentioned about like getting sick, right? Because that's
No.
not on anybody's bingo card. That's
They
not
just say in
on
sickness and in
it,
health, and they don't like freaking go
exactly.
into it.
There, you don't talk about it because nobody
No.
wants this. So you don't talk about it. You don't prepare for it. So then when you're young and you get sick when you're young and you're watching all the people around you go through all these steps to get the career, get married, get the house, have the kids, do all of the things, or if that's not their thing, maybe they're just, traveling the world or
Hmm.
doing whatever it is that makes them happy. And we're sitting here getting more bitter and more bitter and more bitter as we're re traumatized all the time. So now we're traumatized and bitter, and we're just surrounded by other people who are traumatized and bitter, and we're all just angry and bitter. So that way, when we are trying to do something, I think to a degree, I mean, I can't speak for anybody else, obviously. I can only speak for myself, but I feel like I have to put in twice the work
Yes.
because I got held back. So now I have to do more. And now I have to
Yes.
do it I have to do it twice as hard and twice as long to show you that I'm worth something. And I think that because just it's how we as just humans and our generation as well, we have that ingrained in us that we have to perform for that worth, that we have to do
Hmm.
something. So now we are dealing with all of these things that nobody talks about. We're burying this medical trauma. We're burying all of this stuff. We're trying to have these conversations. We're trying to do stuff, all the while ignoring all of these warning signs that we shouldn't be doing this. And it just leaves us in a more vulnerable position. And I wish that at the end of us talking, we could say, don't do this instead, because then it'll all be okay. There is no answer for that either, because I've pushed myself past my breaking point. I have pushed myself harder and harder and harder to a point where I had no business doing that, and I was okay. I paid for it, I suffered for it, but I came out the other side with it. And that almost was a bad lesson to learn, because I was like, well, I was fine over there, so I can do it
Hmm.
again over here, right? And I'm like, everything's cool. That's fine. But it didn't
I
work.
just I just realized there's kind of an interesting layer to this that I didn't even consider. And when I think of the way that I was brought up and being an entertainer and being the kid of entertainers. So my mom, when she was a magician's assistant, she would get injured, I mean, all the time. Like my mom was always getting injured on stage because I mean, I'm not gonna like reveal secrets obviously, but oh, wait, what just happened? Samantha? Well, it's currently just us. I don't know what happened. Uh, the fuck? Telling Sam to get back in here. This would happen to us. Well, now I have you all to myself. Texting me. Spinning. Well, this is my chance to talk about whatever I want. I could delve into like mysteries of the universe or whatever. Nah, you guys don't want to talk about that shit. She lost the internet.
2 hours later.
Hey, what's up, you guys? Levi here, and I'm currently editing today's podcast episode, which, if you guys have not been able to tell by now, is going to be actually a two-part episode. Sam and I really had a lot of different things that we really wanted to make sure that we took the time to convey in this episode. You know, this episode for us with everything Sam's been through, with everything I've been through, with everything I'm getting ready to go through. This was a really important episode for us, and we really hope that you guys have enjoyed hearing our thoughts so far, and we hope you guys have enjoyed the journey of this podcast. We have felt so incredibly blessed and so incredibly lucky to be able to have such an amazing audience, and your comments, your shares, all the things that you guys do to interact with us. We really truly love you guys, and we really appreciate the audience that we have. So I truly say this from the bottom of my heart when I say I love getting to make content for you guys, and we just really appreciate all the love and support. So thank you again just for showing up, being a part of the journey, joining us for the ride, and we'll see you guys in the next one. And until then, continue surviving spectfully. Bye, guys.